Well, this year will mark the 40th anniversary of the Falklands War. Memories of the conflict, which claimed 255 British and 650 Argentine lives, may be fading, but it remains a big part of our military commitment overseas. This week, Argentina restated its determination to reverse the outcome of 1982's conflict, that in spite of the fact that the vast majority of the island's 3,500 residents very much want to remain British. Joining me now, former head of counter-terror at the Ministry of Defence, Major General Chip Chapman. Chip Chapman, a very warm welcome to you. Thanks for your time. Often in conversations about the Falklands, we start by saying, could Britain mount a military operation to recapture them? I wonder if the question's moved on in light of the fact that our defence capabilities have been reduced a little bit. Can we now defend the islands?
Yeah, the question you first posited, Colin, is absolutely the wrong question these days because a threat is both intent, capability and opportunity. The Argentinians no longer have the capability to invade the islands at the moment, and they don't have the intent in terms of the constitutional position, is that they seek to reclaim the islands by diplomatic means rather than by military means.
I'm just looking at a poll we've commissioned, Chip. I mean, it's not representative clearly, but you can get a general sense of how strongly our viewers feel about a given topic just by the volumes of those involved. And quite a lot of people voting on this one. My question, a little provocative perhaps, asking whether this 40th anniversary is the time to consider negotiations with Argentina. But as you say, they're not necessarily looking to do anything all that dramatic. But this is a long-standing claim they've had. There's no reason to imagine it's going to disappear in coming decades. How long really can we kick this can down the road?
In perpetuity, really. You have to look at what the object of war is, and the object of war is a better peace. But the next question is from whose perspective? Now, from the Falkland Islands' perspective, they welcomed liberation. Indeed, the 2013 referendum had 99.8% of the Falkland Island people who wished to remain part of a British overseas territory. So there's a big tick in the box from the Falkland Islanders. Then from the perspective of the UK, the war itself prevented national humiliation, and it would be political suicide for any British government to give away the Falklands or negotiate it being given away. That would be the difference between the fact that we had the surrender on the 14th of June 1982, which led to conflict termination. And the impasse we're in really at the moment is that we haven't been able to convert conflict termination into conflict resolution. And that's the same dilemma that the Argentinians have when they also have no conflict resolution, because they still see themselves as having this claim on the Falkland Islands. The problem is, in terms of the Argentinian negotiating position, they used UN General Assembly 2065 as the basis for their claim, which says that the interests of the islanders should be taken into consideration. That was from 1965. The British position has always been that the wishes of the Falkland Islanders should be taken into consideration. Taking into account the interests gives you a limited regard. Taking into account the wishes, 99.8% who wish to remain a British overseas territory, gives an absolute regard for the Falkland Islands, and therefore the thing should be done and dusted. It isn't, and it won't be forevermore, because of the fact that everyone in Argentina grows up with the fact that this is the Malvinas and is part of their territory. And there is this, has been for years and years, this asymmetry where that has always been the position of people in Argentina from cradle to grave.
For anyone who's been to the Falkland Islands, it is a remarkable place. It's got a sort of bleak beauty, hasn't it? I've only been the once. I dare say you've been there more times than many of us, Chip. In terms of realising its potential, there is that natural beauty there. There is the wildlife. It did attract a lot of cruise liners. That's a business that's been suspended because of COVID mainly. But it is true, surely, isn't it, that actually if we were on an entirely peaceable footing with Argentina, there could be a lot more cooperation, particularly on things like the exploitation of mineral deposits in this part of the world.
Well, of course, then you come across the boundaries, economic zone of boundaries in the sea and the oil and minerals there. And that is also part of the claim of both of them, because territorial shells and all those economic interests clash if you then have sovereignty over another country. There is a lot of economic potential in the Falklands, and they are self-sufficient apart from defence. Now, of course, we still do have a large deterrent posture in the Falklands, which includes, air defence and guard ships and possibly a submarine, which if we'd have had in '82, probably the war wouldn't have taken place. Typhoon aircraft regularly patrol it, and we have a garrison. If you didn't have that, then, or if you had some amelioration which led to conflict resolution, there would be no need for a garrison. But no one's going to give that away, because from both sides, both the Argentinian side and the British side, it would be political suicide to just say no longer care